What's going on YouTube? In this video we're going to be looking at individual patrolling considerations. First thing I want to talk about is gear. Now I've got a wide variety of gear laid out, and by no means am I suggesting that this is the gear you need to go with, but this is just going to give you a basic overview of some of the stuff that I would carry on a patrol and stuff that I prefer. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about is packs. Now there are two types of patrols. You got a combat patrol and a reconnaissance patrol. Alright, now on both of those types of patrols, you're not carrying large amounts of gear. You're not carrying these big ass ruck style packs. For instance, this pack right here is a large Alice style pack, and you know it's a large pack, and it has way too much shit that you need to be taking on a patrol. Okay, you don't need this much stuff on a patrol. Same thing here. This is the current issue Marine Corps main pack. You don't need this much crap on a freaking patrol. Okay, we're talking about combat and reconnaissance patrols. You want to freaking pack light, and you don't want to have too much stuff on you because it's going to weigh you down and tire you out. What we're talking about on patrolling is medium to light packs. Now, this one right here, this is a medium size Alice pack. U.S. military no longer uses these, but it's a good pack. It's medium size, and if need be, it can hold a lot of stuff. You can find these really cheap on the civilian market right now. There's plenty of them out there for great prices, and you know, comparing the price of one of these to Molly type packs, it's not even a comparison. These are good quality packs for a fraction of the price. On a medium style Alice pack, you got 3 exterior pockets, just like on the large frame ruck style packs. You got 3 external pockets that can hold MREs, anything, Ranger rolls, whatever you want to put on there, warming layers. So this is a good option if you're that budget warrior and you need a medium sized pack to carry on a patrol. Moving forward a little bit, this is the current issue Marine Corps day pack or patrol pack, and same principle. It's small, but at the same time it still has enough room to carry the things that you would need on a patrol. Okay, so this is just mine that I have outfitted here. I've got 2 canteens on each side, and then it has external pockets for the different miscellaneous things that you can carry inside your pack. What are the things that you want to carry on a patrol? Well, like I said, you want to pack light. So if you don't need it, don't take it. Okay, you want to take the bare essentials. So what are bare essentials for a patrol? Well, water, ammunition, and possibly some chow. Okay, depending on how long your patrol is going to be. All right. So your chow, your water, and your ammunition are the 3 key most important things. Now, what are some things that you could have in addition to that? Well, land nav equipment, such as maps, compasses, and things like that. That's mission essential gear that you'll need to take on this patrol. Now, what are some of the extra stuff that you can take on a patrol if you want to pack it? Well, we can take warming layers, okay? And I'm not talking some big giant jacket or anything like that, but something like this, a small fleece or polypro, something like that if you want to add that, or possibly a Gore-Tex top. Okay, that's keeping it basic, that's keeping it small and light. Additionally, depending on where you are, something like a knit cap or watch cap, something like that, or some knit gloves. If you want to take those for extra warmth, if you're in an environment that does get cold, particularly at night, there might be some things you might want to consider putting in your patrol pack. Alright, so essential pieces of gear on this patrol. Gotta have a camelback. I think a camelback's a must. There's no reason why you should be pulling canteens out of pouches or Nalgene bottles or whatever to hydrate. Canteens, as you drink them, and they become empty, they start swishing around, they make noise, too much noise. I think canteens should either be completely full or completely empty. use that canteen to refill your Camelback, because while you're sucking through this Camelback, you're also pulling that air out of it, so it minimizes the noise that water makes. So absolutely think you should have canteens on your gear, but for the primary reason of refilling this Camelback. I've yet to see anything that's as effective as a Camelback when it comes to keeping an individual infantryman hydrated on the move. So essential piece of gear, definitely needs to be part of your kit. Whatever considerations you're making as far as your gear, you definitely need a freaking Camelback or something like it to keep yourself hydrated. This other stuff, you know, Gore-Tex tops, snivel gear, warming layers, things like that, you know, that's added stuff. If you need it, you can take it, but you know, keep in mind this stuff adds up. You know, each thing individually doesn't weigh very much, but as it starts piling up, if you take more and more crap, you know, that starts adding to the weight, and you got to think, you know, 10 miles into your patrol, you know, this stuff is going to start wearing on you. So, you know, consider that. Keep that in mind. If you don't absolutely need to have this stuff, I wouldn't recommend taking it. All right, next thing I want to talk about is your food. So you're definitely going to have food in your patrol pack or in a butt pack or whatnot. It's just a good idea. Even if you're going on a patrol that's only supposed to last 3 or 4 hours, you never know what could happen out there. You could get in a firefight, last for hours, even days if need be. So you always want to have food with you. So MREs, they're, you know, somewhat large and take up a lot of space. So one of the things we do in the infantry is we do what's called field stripping. So your MRE comes in this little plastic sealable bag. You pull it right out. Now some of the newer MREs already come in a little, you know, smaller plastic bag, so that you don't have this big brown bag that's filled with air as well. You know, if you have the space and you want to take all this stuff, you know, by all means, but most infantrymen will strip this even further and keep it to the essentials. So that's what we're going to do. Now, heater. Do you absolutely have to have a heater? You have to have warm food? You know, probably not. You know, but you will have opportunity to eat these potato sticks. You know, you might be able to eat some of this cheese bread. You know, maybe the wheat snack bread. Now here's some other stuff. So your main meal and your sides, pull them out of the cardboard and discard that. That's just extra crap that you don't need. Okay, so you got your main meal, you know, a side, you know, probably a snack, wheat snack bread. Let's say you want all this crap. Your spoon, obviously you need a spoon to eat your food, but let's say you have multiple meals, you know, you probably only gonna need one spoon. You can reuse that spoon, all right? It's plastic, it's a hard plastic. You can just wash it off or whatever, and you know, you don't even need to wash it when you're in the field. But anyways, just take one spoon. If you got multiple meals, throw the other ones out. You don't need them. Now, once you got all this together, usually what we do is just take your tape, tape it together, and there you go. There's one meal. Now this is a hell of a lot smaller than having a big ass MRE bag in your pack. It takes up a lot less space. You can use that space for other stuff. Okay, so here's a field stripped MRE. This stuff right here, you know, again, if you need any of this stuff, you know, pull it out, but you don't need this big ass accessory bag. So look how much stuff we've stripped out of this MRE, and now we got just the bare essential stuff that's going to keep you, you know, moving, keep you in the field, you know, energized and whatnot. You don't have this extra gear, this extra wasted MRE space. So, you know, small, compact, essentials. That's all you need on a patrol. All right, let's talk about gear. Now, I'm sure you've seen my Brent 0331 gear video. If you haven't, check it out. But anyways, This is one of my Alice rigs, and like I said in the other video, I like to wear Alice rigs when I go on patrols. Reason being is I think it really distributes the weight well. It's not as cumbersome as having a plate carrier on, or anything that encompasses your whole entire upper torso. I feel like Alice equipment really distributes the weight well. With that being said, you got your canteens in the back. You have a butt pouch that can hold, stuff like your field strip chow, anything else you want to stick back here, like a poncho or other essential needs. And your ammo is distributed in the front, so I think it's a really good setup for a long-range patrol type scenario. So I generally wear Alice equipment when it comes to long-range type patrols. So anyways, this is one of my setups, and like I said, I got the ammo here in the front. In the back I got the my 2 canteens and a butt pack to keep other miscellaneous stuff. And in conjunction with this, I'll have a patrol pack on, a camelback, something like that. So there's definitely more to this other than what you see right here. Now this camelback right here is the current issue Marine Corps camelback, but this even has small compartments and whatnot to handle additional gear. So I think this is a good setup for a patrol. Am I saying that you should use this? No, I'm not saying that at all. This is just what I like to use. There's other stuff I use as well, but personal preference, if I'm going on some sort of long patrol that doesn't require body armor, I'm going to try to minimize the weight as much as possible, and I think this is a great setup as far as moving and not having that additional weight to weigh you down and whatnot. Let's look at the alternative to this. This is a Marine Corps plate carrier. Now, this has come a long way from what I carried in the Invasion and NOIF 2 with the Interceptor to some of the other OTV vests and whatnot. The plate carrier is definitely a scaled back model of the flak systems that we were using in Iraq, and obviously this is leaps and bounds better. But the thing is if you don't need all this gear on, if you're going on a patrol and particularly a reconnaissance patrol, why would you want to have all this weight on you while you're moving? It's just going to fatigue you and make you complacent. So if you don't need the body armor, if you don't need it, don't wear it. That's my advice. Same with a Kevlar. If you're wearing a plate carrier with ballistic, inserts and whatnot, you probably should be wearing a Kevlar too. But like I said, if you don't need all this armor and protection, individual protection, then scale it down. Freaking take the bare essentials. If I was going into the attack and I knew I was going to attack an enemy fortified position or an enemy occupied position, absolutely what I recommend wearing body armor, plate carriers and flak vests and Kevlars and everything else. But if I'm going on a particularly a reconnaissance patrol or just a long range combat patrol, I don't want all this stuff weighing me down. So I would keep it basic. I'd keep it simple, and I can go without, particularly on let's say an ambush patrol. If I'm going out there to set up an ambush, why do I need all this body armor and everything else? Like I said, it's great. It's great gear. It's going to probably save your life. But if you got a big movement ahead of you, and you're particularly going to be moving through, let's say, a jungle, a place that's very humid and is definitely going to wear you down, flak and Kevlars are definitely going to take a toll on your body. So so once you're all suited up and ready to go, it's always good practice to have somebody else look you up and down. There's always going to be things that you weren't thinking about or things that you overlooked. So that other person might be able to pick those up before you step off on your patrol. So just make it a good habit. It's one team, one fight. Y'all are in it together. Just look each other up and down, make sure everybody's good to go, make sure everything's tight, no loose straps, things of that nature. Rattling, canteens are topped off, ammo's topped off, everything's good to go, everybody knows the plan, everybody knows the movement, scheme of maneuver, and whatnot. So just make good practice of it. Like I said, it's one team, one fight. Everybody's in it for the long run. Everybody's freaking life depends on one another. So with that being said, let's go into the woods. We'll talk about some individual movement. We'll talk about some key terrain and things that you need to watch out for when you're on a patrol. All right, so let's talk about movement a little bit. You want to use the terrain to your advantage. Right here in front of me is somewhat of a hill, and I have somewhat of a depression along the side of it. So instead of walking over the top of this hill and skylining myself to everybody else in these woods to see, I'm going to follow the natural depression in the ground along the side, and that will help mask my silhouette. And anybody that's just walking along in these woods will have a harder time detecting my movement because I'll be down in the depression and using the terrain to my advantage. Right, skylining yourself. So if you come up to a hill, you obviously don't want to walk over the top of it or walk along it. You want to follow the military crest of a hill. So here's an example of a hill, and this is what I mean. This would be skylining yourself, walking along the top of a hill. Coming over the top of a hill. So what you want to do is take the military crest of a hill if you have to travel by a hill. That way you don't silhouette yourself and you can't be observed from the other opposite side. All right, let's talk about danger areas. So danger areas are areas like this. This is an opening in the woods. So over here you have woods, and then now you got a creek that runs through it. So you got an opening. So anybody that's down that creek can see down that creek for, however far, and they could have an OP set up on that creek to observe down it to see if anybody crosses it. So it's a good example of a danger area. This clearing right here, from this creek, this is an open area that an enemy could put an OP on, or an ambush could be set up on it because they know somebody at some point are probably going to try to cross this. Human beings are lazy by nature, just like animals. They're going to take the path of least resistance. So you need to try to avoid danger areas at all costs. But understand there's going to be times where you don't have a choice. You have to cross a danger area, and unfortunately I don't have anybody else out here with me. Otherwise I'd go over setting up how to cross danger areas, setting up your near security and far security before actually crossing into a danger area. But understand that there are techniques to cross danger areas. Maybe I'll discuss that in a later video. But I just want to give you guys an example of what a danger area looks like. Avoid them at all possible. If you gotta come up on a ravine like this or a creek, go to where the creek bends, or go to the depression around near the creek where you might be able to cross without being observed by an enemy force. As you can see, this creek goes down and then it turns. Well, in this situation, you can follow the tree line down to where that the turn and the bend in the creek is, and then you can cross down there. And that way, if somebody had an OP set up on this danger area, they would not be able to observe you. All right, let's talk about likely avenues of approach. So right here in front of us, we have a trail that's heavily traveled. When you're sitting in a long, extended security hold, or you're establishing a patrol base, or sitting in the defense, if you have crucive weapons, make sure you have those crucive weapons oriented on that likely avenue of approach. If you do not have a crucive weapon, by crucives I'm talking about, M240s, FN mags, M60s, PK machine guns,
MG3s, whatever your country of origin is, make sure that belt fed is oriented on this likely avenue approach. If you don't have crew serve weapons, automatic rifles such as, a SAW or a IAR or an RPK, something along those lines, should be oriented on these likely avenues of approach. The last thing, if you don't have any of those, then a individual rifleman will do, but make sure they're covered. So when you're sitting in a extended security hold or you're establishing a patrol base, that's one of the things you want to take in consideration. If you're doing a 360 for your patrol base or your extended security hold, make sure you place your crew serves, belt feds, or automatic rifles on these likely avenues of approach. Do not take these trails. Do not take these pathways of least resistance. That's where the enemy is most likely going to set up an ambush, most likely going to booby trap, things of that nature. When I was in Afghanistan, Marines had to patrol through the irrigation canals because they couldn't travel on the main travel trails and roads there, because that's where the Taliban would place the pressure play IEDs. So in order to avoid that, a lot of times Marines would conduct their whole patrol through an irrigation canal. So crazy stuff, but that's what Marines do. They improvise, adapt, and overcome. So anyways, that covers that. Likely avenues of approach, man-made roads, trails, dry creek beds, things of that nature. That's what you want to take into consideration. There's a few things I want to add for movement. Depending on the environment you're in, whether you're in a jungle, the woods, the desert, the mountains, things of that nature, that's what's going to influence how much dispersion you have. Typically, if you're in more open terrain, especially during the daylight hours, you want to have about 15 to 20 meters dispersion between you, the guy behind you, the guy in front of you, and whatnot. Whole host of reasons for that, but just throw a few out there. Explosive devices. If a mortar round lands in between you or near you, you don't want it taking out 2 or 3 guys. God forbid you get hit. You only want it to take out that one guy, or minimize your casualties. Is probably a better way to say that. Additionally, crew serve weapons. If the enemy's got crew serve weapon set up, you don't want them to be able to lay enfilade fire and take out a whole bunch of guys. If you ever have any experience with machine guns, I was a machine gunner in the Marine Corps in my younger days. But it was a machine gunner's wet dream to have a whole column of troops in line on, let's say, a road, and you have that machine gun mounted up and oriented on that road, and you got great grazing and enfilade fire on that column. I mean, that would be a freaking machine gunner's wet dream, because the long axis of the beaten zone coincides with the long axis of the target, and you just freaking annihilate your target. So things you need to consider, like I said, daylight, 15-20 meters dispersion. Nighttime, you want to close it up a little bit, probably 5 meters, 10 at the most. It depends on your environment. Like I said, if you're in the woods or a jungle where you got so much vegetation around, it's hard to see the person in front of you. 5 meters at most, so that you can at least see the person in front of you and maneuver your way through the jungle. Like I said, though, situation will dictate on a lot of stuff. Your best weapon is your mind, so use it. That's pretty much all I got on that. So well, that's it, YouTube. That concludes my video on individual patrolling considerations. By no means is this a how-to guide on how to conduct a patrol. Just a few little tidbits. There's, books you could write with all the crap that goes into patrolling. This is just a few little things I wanted to put together in a video. Obviously, I'm limited, and I can't show a lot more that I'd like to show because I don't have any more personnel out here with me. But maybe in the future, I can get a few other guys out here and maybe put on something else. But in any event, I hope you guys liked the video. I've got a lot of experience patrolling in Iraq and Afghanistan. I will tell you this, the way we patrolled in Iraq was completely different than the way we patrolled in Afghanistan. So, the environment, the situation, the enemy's disposition, all that's going to be rolled into one. All that's going to influence and impact how you conduct your patrols. So, there's not just one blanket statement that you can make or blanket way of conducting patrols, but there's some basic fundamentals that you can follow that will help increase your survivability and allow you to adapt to the enemy's situation and enable you to conduct those patrols effectively. So in any event, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. If you got more to add, feel free to post it in the comment section.